And good afternoon, as I sit in Milwaukee right now, and it's afternoon, but good evening or good morning potentially as well, depending on when you're joining this session or watching it on demand later. I'll go ahead and get this kicked off. And first thing I want to do is, maybe you're not familiar with SYNCHRO, so just give you a little history and background of how SYNCHRO came together and our overall platform. And what you can see here is the acquisition of a number of products that Bentley has made, over the last almost decade, including the actual 4D scheduling product known as SYNCHRO software in 2018, and then in early 2020, the rebranding of all SYNCHRO construction products here at Bentley, and then additional acquisitions that occurred in 2020 and 2021. Just for a little background, I joined Bentley in 2019, actually on the civil team. I've worked with the civil team while I've been here, both as a civil consultant and then after moving over here to the SYNCHRO team, continue to work with them as we develop this data set that you've hopefully seen throughout the week. I continue to be part of that team and get that information pushed over into the construction world to be able to look at the eye models and everything, and that's some of what I'll be showing you today. I moved to the SYNCHRO team in late 2020 and have been working with the product with iTwins technology, Projectwise, continuing to work with ORD and other products as well. Again, to see how all the products over that have been acquired are starting to be rolled into a single portfolio of software just known as SYNCHRO. And one more slide just to show you, all the different softwares that are part of the portfolio here. We're primarily going to be looking at the mobile app and the web application, but we'll also be looking at the desktop 4D scheduling as well today. So when Scott came to me and asked me to put a presentation together, these are some of the topics that I came up with that, be able to show, workflows as the persona of an inspector, doing an inspection, doing a daily log, potentially finding an issue out in the field, thinking about it from the project manager's aspect or a foreman's aspect, and again, being able to work with the product. Let me actually go back one slide. And one thing to notice in the upper right here, you'll notice as I go through my slides, I try and denote the persona and where you'll access the data, whether that might be on a mobile app, from the web, or again, from a desktop application. So I'll kind of give those cues throughout the presentation. And then finally, as the contractor and looking at the 4D schedule and how to mitigate risk when you start associating your 3D models to the actual schedule and being able to see your information, and not just in a one-time simulation, but an actual interactive model that you can see on the web and view. So let's go ahead and get started here with a field workflow and doing an actual inspection here. So I'm working from my iPad here. We'll pick the project and start diving in here to the project. Actually go view the model here to start my workflow. The model is downloaded local onto the device, so I have offline capabilities. You'll notice I have saved views here, so I can go in, see my bridge that I'm going to work on, create a form here that's an inspection. I'm going to be receiving these bridge piles on site and watching the installation of those. So we're filling out this form here. Going to be looking at the site inspection report. So these reports are all customizable inside SYNCHRO. We can configure them to meet the needs of whatever type of workflow you're performing. We can make the forms fields required to be filled out, or set workflows to them. And not only as I'm filling this out and I'm actually using the keyboard on the iPad, I could be using the talk-to-speech as well and having it fill out the form. I've gone ahead and located the form on our map location as well as our model location, so it all has geolocation to it. And then we can just see how that form has been filled out and where we can see it within the product here, and even drill back into it. I have the ability to make edits. You know, maybe I wasn't able to complete the entire form while I was out on site and I need to go back and make changes or anything. We have the ability to attach additional information, so I could go attach a Word document or I could take photos. We have access to Projectwise directly on our mobile app if we're in a connected environment. So let's look at another workflow here, again from the iPad here and working with the model. So we'll do a daily log. So this time I'm starting actually from the workflow of selecting a form this time and filling out the information here, and then again being able to associate it to a map location and eventually a model location here. So we're just putting in the information in the fields that are available in this form. Again, as I mentioned, those would be completely configurable to the needs of the work that you would be doing. The ones that I'm working with just happen to be the delivered out of the box forms that we create as placeholders or templates in the SYNCHRO project when it's first kicked off and created. So when we get down here, we'll notice I can make assignments to individuals. I'm just going to assign this form specifically back to myself at this time. But we'll notice in a future workflow how I can assign to a specific role, not just to an individual, or even make assignments to multiple roles here. This time when we look at the I model though, one thing we'll notice is that because I have the an actual 4D schedule attached here, I have the time scrubber here at the top, and I can actually play the simulation of my bridge here, and I want to get it to the point where we're just starting to see those piles be installed, as that's the point in time. So I captured the model in XYZ and in time there that indicates where the inspection was, or the daily log was occurring. So one thing, as I noticed as I was working through reviewing my 4D schedule in my model, we've got a conflict with a utility here. So again, let's zoom into the model. Again, I'm working on just an iPad here. I'm able to play my time scrubber here. It's not just a static video, but I'm actually able to navigate around my model, see it in real time. But let's go back to this save view and stop it right here as this bridge footing is starting to be installed. Well, we've got a storm sewer conflict here. So having that capability to be able to, see that information on your iPad, having the 4D schedule capability just helps tell that story and be able to see that information easier when you start working with a 3D model. So again, here, rather than making an assignment to a particular individual, we have what are known as roles. So I want to assign this to the foreman on the project to make them aware of the situation. I have the ability to add additional comments as well to the form. So now that we've captured all this different work out in the field, let's see what we can see from the web view. So what we're looking at here is SYNCHRO control, which we see all the information associated to myself. Unfortunately, for this presentation, I wore the hats of all the different personas. I could have absolutely gotten other individuals in here and moved around, but for the purpose of this demonstration, I am representing all the different personas and now moving into the foreman's role here and looking at the data from the web. So happened to actually notice earlier in the week, we had some weather move through on the project as well. So we captured an issue related to a weather delay. So I was able to, and we have this ability inside our mapping service to see the radar and then capture that information and attach it to a form. And at the time of capturing this, you know, it was just captured so that we had record of it. And it's now been a few days later, and we're realizing that you know, the weather delay had an impact on our project. So just here quickly able to show you, we have the option to turn that weather feature on or off, and what we're able to see zoomed out here. So even though the project is up here in North Carolina and we can see out over the ocean, there was actually some weather occurring at the time I'm recording this video, just so folks are aware and can see the different capabilities that are available on the mapping service here, such as besides the radar, temperature, wind, anything else that might impact your project, and that you can record it, along with things like being able to turn on your satellite imagery versus just seeing the overview of the project. But what I really want to do with this is go ahead and escalate this form that was at the time just captured as an issue to an RFI and go ahead and send it to the owner. Due to the weather delay, we weren't able to complete some of our work that day. So this way we can start that process of, you know, sending this information, making the owner aware, making them aware of the impacts to the schedule and anything else that might have occurred due to, you know, not being able to work for a good portion of the day. So we see that individual issue has now been escalated to an RFI. I just have the single form here. I can go in and add the comment here about the weather delay and what it had impacts on, and then this can proceed to be propagated through other processes, being able to have lines of communication with you know, the owner or others, individuals on the project, so that everybody's aware of what's happening out here on the project. And then the owner will actually get an email notifying them about this form if they aren't in SYNCHRO on a regular basis. But then because they're part of the project, they'll be able to just click the link and go directly to that form and see that information as well. So in the last video we were just looking at where we found the conflict with the utility, let's go ahead and also escalate this up to the bridge engineer and the utility engineer to have them start reviewing this and being made aware of the conflict and what we can do to resolve the issue there. The nice thing about the iModel and the iTwins technology at Bentley is we are synced up with the design files, and as changes are made, those will just propagate right back into my iModel as soon as they're completed. So rather than an export-import situation and static data, we're constantly synced up and live with our design information that can be brought back in from the office. So going to tag that spot and specifically the save view and even the point in time if I wanted to in the model. I have the capability to then create some markups directly on this area here, so I can add some additional notes and information, take dimensions, do all kinds of different things here to give more information back to the office if it's needed. So this gets attached as just an image into the form. And again, we see we have the map location, the model location. I could always attach additional documents, photos, all types of different data onto this form to be able to have that information available for the individual that this is getting assigned to review. So now let's, again, switch roles here and look at this from the designer's aspect here. So the designers might have access, they might not have access to SYNCHRO and the actual forms, but what we can do, because we're utilizing Projectwise here, if I have gotten access and I have a direct link here inside SYNCHRO to the Projectwise, here I've jumped over to Projectwise Explorer and I'm looking at the same file. So again, now I'm wearing the hat of the engineer. I'm able to double click on the file, open up this container file to start to see what it was that was sent about this issue here. So from ORD here, I've already just created a quick save view just to quickly be able to depict this a little bit quicker in my presentation here. So it will select that. And we see that section cut through the bridge and where the utilities are, but I can go to my Collaborate tab here and go to the Manage Issues, and it needs to know who I am, and I log in with my IMS credentials. And now I'm linked up with the project from the field here, and I'm able to see the exact same information from my design application. So I can see that screen capture that I created. And view that and be able to understand what it is that they're seeing and what might be, needed out of this. Again, I could have always attached additional documentation or links to documents in either Projectwise or our project share environment, which is cloud hosted storage. I can see comments here, or Mr. Urbis reviewed this and is like, yeah, we need to get this in front of our drainage engineers, and I'm going to just let the foreman and the field staff know that all right, we see the issue and we're going to get started on this. A full audit trail of all the information that's been collected is here, along with, again, because this form was originally escalated from an issue, is all available here, and we can see all of that data collected. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to go ahead and assign it to Kerry Newbanks and make sure he can get started on this. So we're going to ask Kerry to go ahead and start looking at this conflict and see what he can do to then resolve that in the design application for us. So he'll receive the information, and you'll also notice that there was an additional, the utility engineer was also copied on that form and is being made aware of this as well at the same time. So as I go back into the web view, we can already see that RFI has got the reflection that it's been assigned over to a new individual, and I can come down and see the comments that have been made and added to this particular form and see all that information. And again, the audit trail that's associated with this form and all of the people who've touched it have access to it there. So the last persona we're going to take a look at is the planner or estimator from the contractor side. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something new about our bridge today. Prior to and looking at this project as we 4D scheduled it, there weren't any lights on the bridge. But today I get into my model and I happen to notice that there are lights on the bridge. So the owner has, made a change to the design, and maybe communication hasn't made it all the way to the planner or the scheduler, but we're now aware of this because we can see these changes instantaneously. There's a few different ways that I noticed it. So again, as I scrub through the schedule, because those elements aren't actually associated to anything, they don't disappear or animate as I run through the schedule. So they're a new element to the model. Also, if I was to click on them, they don't actually associate to part of the schedule, but not a problem. So we can see that same information here in the actual SYNCHRO Pro, where we make the association between the 3D objects and the schedule here, that because they aren't associated to any part of the schedule, as I scrub through the schedule, they don't show up. Wanting to just verify, so I'm selecting them to make sure that as I highlight them, they're not already a known resource that maybe just got missed or got put on the wrong task for some reason. But running through here, I'm not seeing that, so I need to take those objects and associate them to an actual resource so that then I can schedule against them here in our scheduling software. So we're going to add those to the bridge that's already been started. So the big key here is that, again, because everything is synced up through the iTwin, I'm not having to start over with my scheduling efforts. All I have to do is add the new components that have been added to the model as part of a design change. So obviously the lights need to be added to the schedule. So I'll create a line item in the Gantt chart for that. Drag this down to the appropriate bridge, because there's actually 3 bridges on this project that are scheduled out, but we're just looking at the Highway 97 over the interstate. Assign a duration. And again, because I still have those elements selected, I can actually just go down into the view there of the 3D objects and associate them directly to the task. And then the last thing I want to do is actually put that in the correct order of the scheduling here. So the barrier is my last object that I'm going to construct before I want the lights. So I'm going to make a link to those objects so that they become scheduled correctly. Now back in our web viewer here, I can actually select on the element that represents the lights. And because it's associated to our schedule here, you'll actually see that we're in the scheduling tab, and I have my full Gantt chart here as well, and I can see all my different tasks along with additional task properties such as duration, start time, or start date, finish date, any of those types of information that would be coming from the scheduling software. So that takes me to the end of my presentation.